Love you, Linda. Love you.
In the courthouse the other day in the hallway, you're singing "Oh Happy Day."
One word prayer. Justice, where are you?
And Just to Serve TV is on the air. Welcome, everybody. Good to have you along. Feels like it's been like a long weekend or something. What do you think, LKB?
Oh, well, let's see if my mic is working on
That's
the computer.
good. Yeah, I think you're on your laptop now.
Yeah, I'm on my laptop.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, so there we go.
Yeah, we'll do that.
I understand Bryant Koberger just took a plea deal. I just got that hot off the presses. I'm sorry. As we're talking right now, this is
hot off the press?
That's a possibility. Could that possibly be?
How's the source? What's the source on that?
I'll tell you in a second. But you know, we taped something that probably Mike Easter doesn't even know about, but and we're not.
He's going to know now.
He's going to know now. It was in defense of him for somebody who attacked him on Twitter. You can go look at it. But what happened is after we taped it, I had to, go do some other stuff. And as I was running off my computer, I tripped over the mic, pulled it out of the computer. So if my sound is a little crazy tonight, please bear with me. Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay. With that caveat, I'm looking just to see if there's anything new. I don't see anything formal.
Oh, it wasn't Brian. Let's see. We'll see. It's not Brian Koberger. It's Brian. Yeah. I think.
Brian Enton.
No, I'm not sure.
Okay, so something's dangling there. We'll see what's dangling. A couple other headlines before we get to Michael Easter, who we're very excited to have back on tonight. First of all, Diddy case. Diddy, of course, Sean Combs. Jury is deliberating. Either that or they're fist fighting. We're not really sure which is going on there right now. One of the jurors has been accused of the infamous juror number 25 of not following the court's rules during deliberations. Whatever in the hell that means. I have no idea what that means. Maybe it's because they're putting him in a headlock or her. And I think it is a guy. I think it's a 51-year-old gentleman, just a kid. So it sounds like maybe they're putting him in a headlock. He doesn't want to play with the other kids. Who knows? Could be headed toward a hung jury on one or all counts.
Well, but here's the problem. You can't invade the jury's province. The judge said in kind of a namby-pamby note, but the way the government wanted it. And, you don't know what that means. Does it mean that he doesn't want to play with the kids in terms of following the judge's instruction, like, hey, the jury 4-person will lead you? It was kind of quick to be able to say, yeah, I'm not deliberating. I mean, if he says that. And also now we've got a snitch, someone's going to feel they're being snitched on, that they can't be a juror. This is a mess already, okay?
It is a rogue jury. It is a rogue jury. Here's what's going to happen. This is my opinion. They will not convict on the RICO charge. Maybe it'll be hung. I don't think they got a conviction there. Sex trafficking, nope. I think there's a chance under the third, the Mann Act, transporting persons over state lines for illegal purposes. I think the Mann Act is the best on its face. But my problem is it was never designed to protect sex workers who are adults and consenting and getting paid. It was designed to protect victims, especially minors, right? So the Mann Act, and no, it is MANN. It's not gender. And that's what they're using for this third count. And I think on the strict description of the statute and the rule as it's set up, they can find guilt on that. I just think it's inappropriate because it's not what the statute was designed for. So if the jury's looking to get him for something, they got that.
Yeah, that's a possibility. But I have a friend, and I kind of go by people out in the community where I'm in New York City who would not convict at all. The minute she wouldn't convict, because it wasn't about the assault on. This was not the assault on Cassie that we all saw, which was pretty awful.
Which was beyond the statute of limitations. That was 2016.
Where are all these people? They wanted to be in his life. They wanted to do this. They wanted to please him. Plus the adults are consenting adults. And if we say this is a crime, then what are we saying about sex workers, right? Yeah. And so I know a lot of people, not just one, in the New York City community who wouldn't convict him. So we'll see. But yes, Brian Enton is reporting that Brian Koberger just came out as we hit our song, took a plea deal in exchange for pleading guilty to committing all
penalty off the
murders, death penalty off the table.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow. That's a blockbuster. If true, doesn't surprise me a lot. because I think he was screwed. And I don't think this was a case in which people were watching thinking, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? No, they just want to see the guy convicted. And I think they had the goods to do it between the DNA on the sheath, the transportation information they had, the scoping out the place ahead of time, all of that. Very bad.
I'm sure the families would have had to agree. And I think if the families agreed, it would be to prevent them dragging this through and having all of their kids, how they died, all over the internet and the pictures and everything else. So, I mean, I can see if the families agree that happening. Anyhow, so that's well, that just came on. That was new.
That's not on our list, but
it wasn't on our list. So please update.
So yeah, we're trying to just hit some headlines before we get into our guest of the night. So bear with us for a couple of moments here as people gather. Adelson case, Don Adelson still on track. I talked to the court today. They're odd down there in Florida. They don't. It's a sunshine state, right? They let everything out, all documents in court cases. There's nothing really protected. They don't really have a media situation set up like they have in many other places. When I did the Sarah Boone case, which was in Orlando, they issued media credentials. Not once did they ever check it. And in Leon County, where the Adelson case is about to take place, we don't even give away press credentials. You want to come in? Come on in. I said, well, what about electronic devices? Because quite often that's the distinction between the public going in and the media. You can't have your laptop or whatever. Oh, no, bring it. Anybody can come in with their laptop. Come on in. So
still be rolling that suitcase into Adelson.
So it's a free-for-all. But anyway, Donna Adelson, of course, the mother figure in the death of the former son-in-law, Dan Markel, Wendy Adelson, star witness, yet again, as people scratch their heads about why she hasn't been charged with anything in the conspiracy to commit that murder. And, of course, we know that Donna was, just going to take a trip to Vietnam, just kind of to clear her head because her son Charlie had just been convicted as a part of the conspiracy. So just, it's coincidental that there's no extradition there, and the cops arrest her on the jetway as she's about to take off. Yeah, come on, that's just coincidence. Anyway, so she got out of Leon County. Remember, she was in Leon County jail, and she was complaining. She had a hearing complaining about all the problems she had, and she didn't have the right shampoo, it's really egregious treatment. So she's been moved. And so now she's awaiting her trial, which is coming up August. I believe it's the 9th. But we'll be down there. We're going to dip into that at some point.
Right. It won't be conflicting with Kohberger. That was the concern, right?
I'm sure that was Kohberger's concern. That's why he decided to take the deal. What else we got on the hit list here? Oh, Sandra Birchmore, what else is happening there?
Well, we reported last week that when we were in the middle of doing the whole hour trial, that there'd been a stay in the civil case, but we hadn't read the article yet. The stay was actually requested by the civil attorneys for the Birchmore estate because of the federal investigation that's going on, which tells me that there's a lot of federal investigation that's going on. He's going to have a hearing. He should be in court in August, unless, let's say, there's some kind of deal that's being struck there, okay? And so we're still waiting some results on decertification of police officers. And Michael Morrissey from Norfolk County has doubled down on the fact he first said initially that he was working with the federal government. Well, guess what? He's now doubled down on the fact that Sandra Birchmore framed herself to commit her own suicide.
Yeah, those things.
Oh,
those
wow.
things happen. They happen. So things in the trifecta of terror up there in Stoughton, Canton, Dedham continue. And don't forget that on July 7th, Aidan Carney has a hearing in one of his many cases. He says there's some discovery motions, some other issues that they're sorting out. We'll be up there to monitor that as well.
And we want that dismissed. I mean, we firmly believe that statute is unconstitutional, that what he did was BS in terms of a crime. The intimidation of a window. You don't even go interview the other person that's with him, which is our friend Will DeGlare,
Yeah, he was the friend who was never even interviewed. But that seems to be the way they operate with the law enforcement in that area. Do the least you can and try and take somebody to trial.
And then before we get to the last night's headlines, which will segue into bringing our guest on, let me just say that we do have some new members. Charm Free is a new member, and Joseph Kane, the gifted one, Justice Serve TV membership, and Joseph Kane gifted another one. And we saw that somebody today said, boy, they want to be a recipient of that because some people can't afford it. And we thank everybody who donates to those accounts. And
on that front, we're starting, we're trying to be, giving some value to our members. And so I did a little something yesterday that went only to members to ask them about some content we want to provide to members, which has to do with some of my prior work. Still legal, still legit, still not advice, but good legal information called The Legal Edge, which was a program I did for a number of years. So we're going to sprinkle those in. The reaction was, yeah, let's take a look at it. What the hell? So we're going to sprinkle those in every Friday. There'll be just a member perk, and we'll get your feedback to them when they start rolling out regularly. I got a lot of them. I think we did almost 1,000 of these segments. So we're covered on that front, and we just want to take care of the members and offer a little some value if we possibly can. So, okay, what else we got? Oh, yes.
Let's talk about because it's something that must be close to Mr. Easter's ears. I know one of my friends has a son that's also, like his son, a firefighter called to these fires. Terrible situation last night in Idaho, the sniper situation. Maybe Mike wants to talk about it.
Let's bring on Mr. Easter and dovetail the news of the day with what he's got for us today. Michael, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it as always.
Yeah, hopefully I unmuted just in time. Did I get it?
Yeah.
Oh no, you're good.
Perfect.
Yeah, you're good. So, what about this situation in Idaho with the firefighters and apparently a sniper?
Yeah, I mean, I was just as surprised. The first thing I did was call my son.
Sure.
And yeah, he said that, yeah, they, it's, not, my son's not one to worry, I guess, but, so I worried for him. But yeah, it's definitely something I would say shocking in a way. I don't know if that's the right response to it. And I'm sure that there's going to be some investigations going on into those types of things. And, something to consider with those guys. They're out there in remote areas, and you never know who you're going to encounter. If that person that you're lives out there, or somebody that was part of an arson, it's fighting fires is not easy just because of the fire as well, clearly. But there's other risks that are out there.
Yeah, it really is unbelievable. We've heard stories and seen instances in which there have been false police reports, right? And then the police show up and it's an ambush.
Right.
I've never seen it in the context of firefighters and first responders to a fire. So,
right. I mean, I was going to say everybody loves firefighters. It's insane.
Yeah.
Now you have to be, as a father, you have to be worried. Not only is your son fighting the fires, dropped into these fires, but also has to be worried for this. And it's just, as someone said on our chat, nothing surprises me anymore. But boy, is this world just terrible.
Yeah, I hope my son's never in that situation. Clearly, I don't hope that for anybody. Clearly, so.
Yeah. So on that front, let's move on now to why we have you here. And this is going to be an interesting evening tonight. This is, we love bringing Michael on to talk about what has been. And we're going to focus on what has been as it relates to Karen Reed trial number 2. But we're going to use it as a springboard for learning and using it going forward. Now, just to give the folks the background on your 20 years FBI special agent. Hey, by the way, why are all FBI agents special? Why is that? How does that work?
Yeah, it goes back to the special powers agents were given to investigate certain crimes at the beginning. Clearly, none of us are actually really that special. Actually, I had a defense attorney ask me that there's nothing special about you except the title, right, Mr. Easter? And I was like, oh, geez, Louise, this is how we're starting.
Yeah. I'm sure the jury appreciated that.
She goes, the only person and she was like, the only person that thinks you're special is probably your mom. And I was like, man, this is talking about aggressive right away.
I know. I always did think it was kind of interesting because I thought it meant, okay, well, there's levels, but no, they're all special. Every one of them. Okay.
Yeah. Once you leave the special agent category, you'd be a supervisory special agent. And then after that, you'd start looking at executive management things, ASACs, SACs. But there's still special agent in charge, assistant special agent in charge. So the Bureau loves their specials. So
yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, they do. Well, we think you're special. That's for sure.
Thank you.
And what we have tonight is kind of a learning opportunity. And you do some teaching, right?
I do. Yes.
So what we thought we would do, and this was actually Michael's idea, and we just, like I said before, we're smart enough to say, good idea. Let's do that. And so we're going to look at some of the witness testimony from Karen Reed 2, 3 of the more interesting witnesses, Jen McCabe to start off, and learn from this testimony and kind of, I guess, as those of us who are into true crime, good chance we'll be watching a trial or two in the future. Good chance we'll be looking at a witness or two in the future. And this evaluation, this analysis can make things kind of a little more interesting as we take on these new trials and everything. So let's start with Jen McCabe. And I have here, I'm going to be the Kokomo, for those who remember the YSL trial. I'm going to be the Kokomo AV guy. Good thing I was an AV guy in high school, although I'm not pushing a projector down the hallway as I was back then. It's a little trickier now, but I'm going to do my best to keep up with the lesson plan here, sir. How you want to talk about this first clip, what we're going to see and what you want to look for, what the class should be looking for?
Yeah, I my hope would be those of you that are watching or watching live or just on Rewind is that just what you said, Michael, is if you're into this sort of space of watching trials, I think you'd be interested in this topic, which is let's not necessarily. I don't think we have to rehash all of Karen Reed trial testimony, but instead use it as a mechanism to look at themes that are presented to witnesses through cross-examination. And then as you watch other trials, see how those themes replicate themselves across those trials or across witnesses. And I think it might be a little more interesting, kind of, I don't want to say fun, but just an interesting way to look at trials beyond just what people are saying, but start understanding some different ways that witnesses get cross-examined and how those themes are used. And then ultimately, what I'd like to use it for is an example of, although not everybody's an expert witness and nobody would necessarily be considered a professional witness at all times, there are little things that we can do as witnesses to become more effective and just sort of deal with the examination, so to speak, by defense attorneys. It's something that I still enjoy. I still enjoy teaching this. It's one of my favorite courses to teach. And so, yeah, we have a couple of things. And I would say to the extent that you're willing to play along in the chat or maybe just at home, write down your own notes. I think it could be interesting and potentially even fun.
Okay, so what are we looking for in this first clip? What are the things you want people thinking about?
So what I'd like you to do when you watch the clip, there's three things I'd like you to look for is when I teach it, I teach it as themes. And these themes will be sort of a purpose or a topic for not just the question, but the series of questions that a witness will be presented by the defense attorney. If you want to write down the themes you see, I think it'll be obvious. You may not know the theme terms that I use, but I think your audience will be sophisticated enough or experienced enough to sort of kind of pick up on this first one. I'd also like you to take account, this is what I always tell students, when you hear the question, write down how you feel. Think about what it's designed to make you feel. And because the reality is, as a witness, there's really only two things you get to really control. And that is how you feel and what you say. Everything else is presented to you, the topics, the questions, the exhibits. You're really in control of very little except for those two things. And then third, as you're hearing it, think about how would you respond to the question? I know you don't know the underlying answers to every question that's going to be shown here, but I think a lot of your audience is probably familiar with what the answer was and probably the evidence as well as anybody. So think about it in that sense. How would I respond? And then we'll play the clip and then we'll have a short discussion on it.
Okay, so now my first challenge is to find the right clip and to play it at the right time. So let's get the clip up here, and we're basically going to play the question and then get into the answer. Is that? Do I have that right? Do I have that plan right?
Yeah. This first one's going to only be Alan Jackson's question, Jennifer McCabe. See if you can pick out those three things. We'll discuss the question, and then I'll play the response in the second clip.
Okay, here we go.
Or you're going to play it. I don't think we're hearing audio. At least I'm not. Are you hearing it, Mike?
No, I'm not hearing audio.
Ah, okay. My bad. Hold on. Hold on a sec. Hold on. Boy, I had that so queued up perfectly, and then I hit the wrong button. Stand by. Stand by. Okay, let's try this. Let me see. This looks like the same issue, but let's try. Are we hearing anything? Yes, no?
No.
Nope. Okay. All right. Mr. Kokomo, where are you when I need you? Let me try this. Let's try this. Well, it all worked so well in rehearsal.
I know when he did it earlier, it was just fun.
Okay. Okay, I may have to connoiter this thing. Yeah, you're not hearing that, right?
No,
Okay.
we don't even see it right now.
Okay, yeah, I want to make sure you can hear it before I pop it back up there to play it. For some reason, it is not showing up the way I would like it to show up, and that makes no sense to me. Okay. Curious. Very curious.
Go ahead, rehearsal. This was just fun.
Yeah, I gotta start going to the production meetings more. Let me see if I can move it over here and play it from over here. Maybe this will make a difference. Okay. Unfortunately, I don't see it any better there either. I'm sorry about
Can you
that.
pull it? Can you pull it into your computer or no?
Well, it's there.
It's
It's
there.
there. It's just not presenting as it normally would present. So that's my concern. Because I can see it. I can actually hear it. But that doesn't really help.
We had this once before. We had this once before where you could hear it, we couldn't. Dizzy, do you remember what the issue
Dizzy's
was?
in it, and I think she's going to fix it for me.
She's going to fix it. Okay.
But the timing on it, maybe, because I'm going to have to do the timing because I don't believe she has that resource. So if we can play it from right, I think it's in a good spot right there for the first question. Let's see if I can do that. Are we hearing that?
Nope.
No, we're not hearing that. Okay.
Well,
I don't know why we're not hearing that either, Diz. I have no idea. Why would we not be hearing that?
hear you.
I don't know what that was.
That's me. I was seeing if I could
Oh.
get the audio to play in sync with yours if I tried.
Yeah, I have no idea why it is not doing what it normally would do. Fine. Let me try another one here. Hold on. Stand by. To try another one. Try
Got
another
to
version.
got to put on stage or you won't hear anything.
Hold on. I'm going to try another version. Stand by.
Put it on the stage.
Hold on.
At 12:42.
You hearing
There you
that?
Yep. Yes.
Okay. Let me back up to the right spot.
Sorry about this, Mike.
No, I think it's great. Because you know what? You know how many times I've taught a class and things aren't working and you're standing up there in front of students, you're like, should I tap dance or do I show a magic trick? Or
Actually, Ms. McCabe, and for court and counsel, I'm going to back up just a little bit up
Here's
to
the
line
question.
20. You stated, quote, "So I think my husband and I were talking just like about what they were doing." And then I sat back down, and then at one point I think I said hello. And then I said at 12:42, "Where are you?" And then flip. I don't know if that's my last text or if I did one more. Yeah, 12:45, hello. Because they were still there. And then question. So the dark SUV was still outside the house at 12:45. Answer, at 12:45. Do you remember that question and answer colloquy back in June of 2023?
I've been asked a number of questions, specifically that.
Pause it there,
Those
Mike.
words, no.
So the question, and she's starting to answer now, critical as to that 12:45 time window, right? This was the time in which she was being asked from the first trial when she last saw Karen Reed's SUV. And of course, 12:45 makes a problem for the prosecution because it doesn't fit the rest of the timeline. So
Right.
what are we getting out of this?
So
question?
what I want, yeah, and I know we had a little delay, and those three things I see in some of the
Give you time to
chats
think
were-
about it.
what's the theme? What is Alan going with here? How does it make you feel? And how would you answer the question? And so that was the question that I wanted you guys to hear. The theme was at the very beginning of the question. It was a theme Alan used for a long time in his initial question with her, which is this: your prior statements, things you previously said. As a witness, as soon as you hear somebody in cross-examination start throwing things back at you that you said previously, that you testified to, you just need to be very attentive, because you want to make sure they're reading back from the transcript and not summarizing it in their own words. But the thing you need to really feel is, don't feel immediately defensive or like, oh my gosh, I did say those things. Now I need to re-clarify or retry or try to clean up things that I've said previously. Accept that that's what you said previously and just say, yes, that is what I said previously. If it's not good for you now, or it's not good for the case in chief, it's not your job to fix it right there. You're not equipped to do it with cross-examination. Wait for the prosecutor to rehabilitate the statements or help you through that process, right? And so what I'd like you to do, I'm sure if not that Michael wasn't great on this play, but I know that one was a little bit weird to hear because it started with your prior statements, but he's throwing her statements at her. And the design is to make her feel defensive and start thinking like she's being accused of something wrong and that she needs to clarify, because she knows, I guarantee she knows at this point, that her statements from the prior trial, the timeline has migrated and he's trying to keep her to the timeline, or at least introduce that timeline back to the jury, right? And so let's, Mike, if we play this next one, so we'll play it from 2:30 to 2:57.
And this is basically her answer to that question.
Right. And I want you to listen now, thinking about what I just said. How does she answer it? And then we'll just discuss maybe a better response to this type of questioning.
I've been asked a number of questions, specifically those words, no. I do remember testifying. I believe I said, I think, in there. I think that, and to be honest, I'm not sure of exactly the times. I didn't pay close attention to when I was texting and when I was sitting. I was going back and forth to the door.
But in June of 2023,
so she's back and forth, you know,
right.
trying to explain how she could be so different, version 2 from version 1.
Right. And what's interesting about this question for the audience is he didn't ask you if you had a new opinion. He just asked, did you say that previously? Right. He's not asking you whether it's true. He's not asking whether it's still accurate or whether it's still your opinion. He's just asking, did you previously state this? And she's already giving qualifying words. Well, I think I said, I think. Those may not have been my words exactly. Well, he's reading this to you, right? So somebody said these are your words. So what I'd like to point out in this instance, think how different the answer would be or the exchange would be for the jury if you just said, yes, I did say that previously, or yes, that is consistent with my prior statements. Now, I don't look like I'm trying to defend it. It doesn't look like I'm trying to make sense of it in the present, or in her case, trying to distance herself. She's already qualifying that it may be wrong, right? Oh, well, I don't know if those words are accurate. I don't know if didn't I say I think? Those are things you really want to avoid as a witness at the very beginning. This is her first couple questions with Alan, and she's already trying to score some points for her new testimony. Just say yes. I don't know how you guys would think of attorneys, but the reality is, how much simpler is it for her just to say, yes, that's consistent with my prior statements. Now, Alan's like, oh, well, I was hoping you were going to argue with me about this, and I guess I'll just move on to my next question.
And then you can clean it, you know, if you're on the prosecution in this case, you can clean that up when you go back in to do your redirect and say, well,
right.
You know, let's talk about that time zone and why it may have been different when you first talked about it, and now it's different.
Right. And it becomes more authentic, Michael, right? Now on direct, she gets an opportunity to sort of explain it with some prompts from a good prosecutor or whoever's going to do redirect. They get to kind of rehabilitate her, but in the most beneficial way for their case in chief. She's trying to absorb how it's to avoid the negative things, but also sort of present it in a positive. She shouldn't know the whole case in chief to make that effective for the prosecution, right? As a prosecutor, you'd be sitting there like, hey, just say yes, I'll fix this. Just say yes, don't sit here and debate over it. I think whether or not your audience would pick up on this is your prior statements in this case. And the reason I would have just told her, just agree with your prior statements, we'll deal with it and redirect, is that a lot of her prior statements are presented to her through Trooper Proctor interview, right? Mm-hmm. And so now Alan gets to sort of pit them against each other. Well, if that's not what you said, then it helps the defense team that Trooper Proctor's not telling us what happened, right? And so the reality is it's in her best interest to just say, yes, that's consistent with my prior statements, because it's really less damage for the trial, because now it still makes Trooper Proctor look credible in his statement. Yeah. Right. And otherwise it's like, go ahead.
She's so defensive. It just looks very defensive. We know going in that this was going to be a critical issue in the case, the 1245 versus the 1232. Which is a lifetime of difference as the facts of this case and the timeline played out. I totally agree. And it's not your job as a witness to win the case as the sole witness.
If your couple testimony makes or breaks the entire trial, that's not great. It's pretty rare that one case hinges on one person's testimony solely. I mean, it does happen. We all know that. But I think Jennifer McCabe would have definitely been better served to just say yes and not give Alan, oh, okay, so you're telling me that Trooper Proctor's report's wrong then, if that's not what he said.
So bottom line, she was poorly prepared. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think we could all agree she was prepared. But I think what actually ended up making her testimony so different this time from previous time, we could probably have several reasons, but I think one of the main things was she overly rehearsed her answers. She seems like a very smart person, okay? And I think she spent a lot of time practicing what she would be asked, because you can pretty much expect they're going to show your prior statements, and she knew that. So then I think she really went through and rehearsed. Okay, if they ask it like this, I'm going to say I don't remember, and because my recollection, and it just became so rehearsed, the appearance of rehearsal to me, that it made her seem not authentic.
Yeah, I think they thought the secret weapon was, when asked about refreshing, just say no, it won't help. It won't help to show me anything, which is ridiculous.
It's so absurd. It really was. In fact, I would have hoped at the break, if they had one, if I was a prosecutor, I would just say, listen, if they ask you, your memory can be refreshed. It's okay. Like, I know you're probably not supposed to talk to the witness in there, but it's like, tell somebody to tell her it's okay to have your memory refreshed. This is looking horrible. Stop doing that.
Okay. So we have the next question.
Yeah, there's a second one for her.
Yeah. Set that up.
Let me set this one up, because I think the themes maybe not be so intuitive. In fact, the setup on this question or this next clip is the setup. I want you to see in this exchange, and I'll sort of give you I'll give you the spoiler, is Alan's going to ask her a lot of questions about her chat, that group chat that she had. And Alan, in the first three questions, really does the setup. He's telling the jury, I'm going to bring in this concept of collusion. And he does it by asking her some questions. She says, no, there is no collusion. But then he goes very foundational, what I call the setup. He's going to just very unaccusatory, have her read through all these texts with him and lay foundation and lay the record of putting these things into the record of the dates and times of these. And then he does a really great job. I won't give the second clip, but in that second clip, those questions are just so good. And she doesn't do a horrible job with them. But so this next clip, Mike, it should be 30:25.
Gotcha. I'm ready to go now. I'm on it.
And it's about a minute. And I wanted you to listen for how she's being set up and how you feel about these questions as you're getting set up, or if you realize you're getting set up.
Here it is. Here's the setup.
In the events of January 29th, 2022, were you and your family coordinating your versions of the events that occurred on that morning?
No.
Were you and your family coordinating some sort of damage control in terms of the language that your family would use to the public, to the press, to law enforcement?
No.
Did you and your family use a group chat? You and part of your family use a group chat to text each other to coordinate your communications with either the press or the public or law enforcement or family or friends?
I have multiple like group chats with family and friends.
You had a very specific group chat that included yourself, Nicole, your sister, Brian Albert, and Matt McCabe, correct?
Yes, I did.
All right. So this is, as you call it, this is the setup for collusion, right?
Yeah. When you're sitting there, you need to pick this off if you're a good witness, is that I'm getting set up. He just told me what his next theme is. He's going to show the jury that I was coordinating with people to get our version of the story, to do damage control, and that this group chat existed. And she did what she had to do, which is, no, we weren't doing it to coordinate our version of the story, and no, we weren't doing it for damage control, right? But she does agree that they had a group chat, which allows him then to bring in the group chat, right? She authenticated in a purpose. And now, but she has to, there's no other option. It looks silly otherwise. And what's interesting is, we don't play this, Mike and Linda, but he then reads the chat for almost a half an hour, 30 minutes of just reading.
Oh, was that
chat.
it? I don't remember that. Really?
Yeah, it's like 30 minutes of reading these chats. And he does a good job of just reading him, sort of disarming her. She's like, yeah, those happened. That's what we said. That's when we said it. Those are the people I said it to. And again, it's the setup. He's getting her to go along. Hey, you got me the evidence introduced. You've authenticated for me. And I've sort of put the bug in the jury's ear that we're going to talk about your version of the story that you coordinated to avoid damage. And so now the jury's like reading it with already that in their mind. They're already been sort of primed, so to speak, right? Now, let's see this next clip. The next clip is also AJ's questions and Jennifer McCabe's response in rapid fire. So you're going to hear questions and responses together. And I want you to hear how Alan's asking the questions with a more accusatory word than coordination. He's moved on to collusion. And he's basically, see how he does. He's telling the jury what he wants them to conclude from having read the text. And it's really, he doesn't care what Jennifer McCabe says. We all know this at this point, right? I mean, you attorneys know this. It's just the questions are the most important part of this last segment.
Right. Okay, here we go.
May I, Your Honor? Yes. Thank you. In the text that we just saw, you were colluding with other witnesses, percipient witnesses in this case through those text messages, were you not?
I was not.
You were organizing your statements to the police based on what you overheard, what you heard during Kerry Roberts' interview with the Massachusetts State Police, weren't you?
No, I was not.
You were reporting back to other percipient witnesses what you heard and saw during other witnesses' statements to the police, to it, Kerry Roberts, correct?
I was telling them Kerry was speaking with the police.
And you told them she's telling them, quote, everything, correct?
Yes, I told them some of the opinions that she stated.
And when Mr. McCabe said she could write a book, she's going on, in other words, she's going on and on, your statement was, I love it, correct?
Yes.
And you reported that back to other witnesses who were not privy to Ms. Roberts's statements to the police, correct?
To my sister and to my brother-in-law, yes.
And then your sister asked for updates when Kerry Roberts was done, correct?
I don't know if it was in regard to updates when she was done or updates like, did they tell us anything? Is there anything new? We were still all trying to figure out what had happened.
The four of you were discussing the facts surrounding this case, not only with each other, but discussing interviews, formal police interviews that you heard or overheard with another witness, weren't you?
I told them some of the things that Kerry Roberts said, yes.
And you were happy about what she said after you had created this timeline with her, correct?
The timeline had nothing to do with it.
But it was certainly chronologically, her interview with the police was after this timeline had already been created between you and Kerry Roberts.
Yes, we both put down what had happened so we would remember.
And then once she was interviewed, you were responding to the rest of the group. She's telling them everything, meaning everything we just crafted in this timeline, right?
No, I meant she was telling them everything. She was telling her personal opinions about Miss Reed.
All right. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
It was
he's
great
not
when
being
she-
shy about this. He's
It was
not.
great.
He's not leaving to the jury's imagination what he's getting at
Right.
here.
Yeah.
She confirmed
Nobody.
the updates. She confirmed the updates, right? She just
Right.
confirmed everything that he was saying.
Yeah, Linda, and I thought she did I thought actually her response was good in fairness, because the reality is you got set up and there's no going back anymore. You already said these things were all said. You already said that you said some of these things, and you already authenticated that these are true and accurate of your communication. So now Alan just did a great job putting them into the context of the defense case in chief. And you could see her demeanor. She realizes, he set me up. I have no other answer than to say yes, because, she tried a couple times to interject some different context. But if you think about it, Alan got in the questions, and he got in that they were colluding now, that they organized, that they were present during each other's interview, and that they corroborated, or they got their stories together in a timeline, and that she's reporting back what the interview is about, which, things you never want as an investigator, is someone sitting there eavesdropping on your case and then sharing it with everybody else that you have yet to interview. That's just it'd be horrible.
That's one of the things you would have talked about too, about how you were supposed to separate people, right? And told them not to talk. Right. That's the whole.
So this is a perfect example, not just of her colluding, although she denied any time that word was used, but how improper the police investigation was in not simply separating witnesses so they can't, okay, and then make notes about that, and then share those notes with other people to be interviewed.
And what's interesting is sometimes when you, as a good investigator, once you start realizing that there might be I don't want to say colluding, but some type of coordination in the statement, it's really important to speak with them in the sense that I need you to recount your personal recollection. Have you spoken to anybody prior to speaking to me today? Yes. Who? And so the things you're telling me today, I need them to be your independent recollection. Does it fix everything? No, but at least as the investigator, trying to make an attempt to distinguish what is their recollection versus what is the group's consensus, right? So those were so I know everybody has probably 8,000 clips they'd like to hear on Jennifer McCabe. I think my biggest takeaway for Jen was that her demeanor and personality definitely evolved from the first trial. I think she realized that being so argumentative in the first trial was not to her benefit, and that she did a lot of prep and rehearsal that then I thought made her a little less authentic. I don't know how you two felt about that. I just got that feeling when I watched her.
Yeah, I just thought she was very defensive. But let's talk about hair and makeup. How about that? Come on. I mean, she's got a softer look than when she testified in the first trial. There's no doubt about it. I'm not the only one seeing that, am I?
Yeah.
Okay, B, what do you think?
I don't know. I thought that what did her in, to me, the big takeaway from her, the only thing that I really remember now is as we stepped back from the trial for weeks, was the fact that when the FBI came to her, she said she was her sister and went in and lied. I mean, to me, that was that if I'm in the juror, that's what I'm starring and putting my next to. And
if they'd heard FBI, that would have been helpful, perhaps.
Yeah, but they knew. They were smart. Another agency. Okay, Alan did a great job with that, I thought. Anyhow, that was my view.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll put her to bed for now, so to speak, and then we have two other witnesses we want to get into. Both favorites, both fan favorites.
Yeah, these are great lessons, though.
Yeah, this is very proactive stuff. It's always fun to sit back and chat about these witnesses and what it meant, but to learn something from it, take it going forward, I think that's
and also how we train our witnesses when we have them testify. It's a great thing.
Yeah, and think of I know how you guys do it, but when I'm helping new witnesses that are learning to testify for us, at least when I was there at the bureau, was it's important to be yourself. Most importantly, be yourself, and of course, always be honest. I shouldn't have to say that to a government witness, but it's okay to be the best version of yourself when you're there. And, Jennifer McCabe strikes me as somebody that's very controlling, very dominant in a conversation. And she has to be very careful not to try to control the conversation and be dominant in it, because the reality is the witness, you don't have any way to be dominant or controlling. You're really being, like I said, you're on the receiving end almost of everything. And so you have to look at it from that perspective of, it's okay to have some type of emotion, but it should be very minimal. You don't want to overdo it.
Yeah. And when I'm prepping witnesses, I do it very conversationally because I want them to come across conversationally. And so it's very simple. After you may have covered things far afield, but I always circle back to a very simple, just remember to tell the truth. That's it. That's all you have to remember. Right. And if it's done conversationally, I think it just, it resonates. And when they hear those questions, I was just told to tell the truth. Because they can ask, you can be asked, well, have you prepped for this? Well, yeah, I talked to Attorney Bryant. Well, what did he tell you? He told me to tell the truth.
Told me to be honest and to be myself.
Honest and be yourself. That's even that's an addition. Thank you, Mike. That's a great. That's even better. We always tell trial lawyers when we train them, no one can be a better you than you in the courtroom.
Yep.
That's your honesty coming through. But for honest and to be yourself to a witness, that's even. I think that goes hand in hand with may even be better than to tell the truth.
Yeah. And I think if you're like I said, I talk to them as we're having a conversation. It helps them become comfortable and they become their real selves. They aren't this robotic. Yes, I did this and then I did that. No, I mean you're just telling a story. Yeah,
a lot of that comes across, at least on direct, is a good prosecutor, or even if it's on a defense calling their own witnesses, just giving a good relational, like you're saying, Michael, is give them something to have a conversation with. Don't make both sides feel like the Inquisition, or you're being interrogated, in a chair with a spotlight on you. Make it friendly. I've had. In fact, there was one prosecutor. I won't say her name, but she was so good at it. I forgot that I was testifying. I just started, and I'm like, and I looked over. I'm like, I probably shouldn't be so.
I think I'm oversharing.
We look like we're too friendly. No.
That's great.
Yeah, and for the jury, they don't need to know about the animosity and the positioning. Right. They just want to hear what they think is the truth. They'll sort it out. And
I sort of go back to Mike on her would be, don't feel like you have to win points for us all the time. It's okay if it's negative for us. There's going to be some negative things, like prep them for that. It's like, listen, there's going to be things that you're going to testify to that may not be, that you may perceive as not good for the prosecution. It's not your job to try to win those points for me. Okay. Your job is to testify accurately and consistent with your recollection, be honest. And like we said, be yourself. Don't worry about the outcomes of your testimony. That's my job. Well, I'm not a prosecutor, but you get my point.
Sure. And it's not bad to admit something that is negative, Right. You're not going to say, yes, I killed him. I'm not that, but something very minor that makes it look, oh, well, it must be telling the truth, because that's kind of something that doesn't help their position. Here's a good question for you. I don't know if there's a short answer though, Mike, from Liz Cole Baker. What would you have asked Jen McCabe? If you could maybe just synthesize that to one particular area, or I don't know if there's a giant question, but maybe an area that you would have focused on.
Yeah, I thought they did so well with her. It was such a long thing. I don't think like an attorney, so I'm not always good with the quick.
I don't know about that.
I think like an investigator. I would have liked to worked in some of the questions. Is do you know why the Massachusetts State Police didn't get your cell phone records like they did for Aaron Reed? Do you know why?
Yeah,
like I know
and it makes it sound like honest curiosity, right?
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, it's like I would have been like, did you offer to give them, because you could have called and got them? Did you offer to give them to prove your innocence? Like I know you can't say those things as attorneys, but like as sort of like me as an observer, I'm like, man, I really want to see her phone record, because then we could have looked at a lot more about that timeline for her.
Yeah, and I'm sure some of those would have been objected to, but you could at least ask the question. Don't you think it would be important, Ms. McCabe, for the officers, the law enforcement, to have that information?
Oh, that's a good, right. Yeah. Yeah, that's why you're an attorney, Michael.
That's
I was
great.
like, hey, tell me why you didn't get them.
Yeah, that's right. You're down her throat. I'm telling you.
Mhm.
Okay, should we move on to Mr. Sergeant Buchanek?
Yeah,
Yeah.
another
Here we
fan,
can learn.
another fan favorite.
See what we can learn from him. What's the setup on this first clip? What are we looking
So
for?
I only picked one for Yuri because we probably could pick every question.
Yeah.
And I actually think, let me see, I think I might. No, it's one clip. It's a little longer clip. It's about 2 minutes. So I apologize. You have to be patient for 2 minutes. But I want you to pick up on this. When we play this clip, it's going to be the exchange between Alan and Yuri. You're going to see both questions and answers. What Alan does, I want you to pick off this theme, and I want you just to listen for it. I'll give it to you. He's letting what I call, when I tell students, it's called the witness gift. Yuri's going to be giving gifts to Alan, and Alan's going to let him continue to wrap the gifts and give them to him. And one of the gifts that he really gives is the gift of being a smartass. And so, which you don't ever want to be. Don't try to be a smartass on the stands. I tell you what, I'll cover it in the afterwards. You'll see it. I also want you to see what Alan lets him do. And Alan lets him talk. If a defense attorney is really letting you go on and you're being cross-examined, I'm instantly like, I'll sometimes stop and I'll stop sharing. I'm like, oh crap, I'm oversharing. And this guy likes what I'm oversharing because he hasn't given an objection non-responsive. He's just letting me go, or he or she. And so I become very self-aware. And as you guys can see, I sort of just start telling stories about my, oh yeah, that's interesting. I'll start talking about it. And I'm like, oh God, that's not what I'm here for. And you got to really pull back as a witness, and you'll see that. Watch this clip. It's 2 minutes. And so what is AJ letting Yuri Buhkenik do? What did the witness give to AJ unnecessarily? And what did AJ do with it? And we'll talk about those things.
Say that,
Okay.
but I'm not.
Yes.
I'm not going to argue about semantics here.
Well, you'll agree that words matter, right? I mean, you're testifying, so words do matter.
Words do matter. That's important.
So working off of your, as you put it, your theory, you theorized that there was an impact spot at 34th area, correct?
Based on the statement I hit him, I assumed that Mr. O'Keefe was impacted with something. Initial hours of the investigation, we had those statements, I hit him. We had the statements that, oh my God, did I hit him? So utilizing that information with the evidence at that point that we had was a broken cocktail glass. So a theory would be, why is the cocktail glass broken? Because it came into contact with the victim. So that's why my information communicated to the ME's office was a possible domestic involving a glass strike to the victim. As a result, we had to go and see the victim's body and the injuries. So Mr. O'Keefe's injuries presented a certain way, and we learned more information. So the more information that comes in, the more information that we are able to corroborate statements and collect evidence that further corroborates other information is helpful in the investigation. That's how investigations develop. If we knew everything we knew from day one, there wouldn't be a process of developing investigation.
So the answer to my question, Sergeant, is you were working off of a theory, correct? Yes or no?
We were working off a report of an injured male party, and then we developed the information, collected the evidence, and developed the investigation.
Do you know what the word theory means?
I'm sorry, English is like a third language for me. So if you can bring up the Webster's Dictionary, I can read it out.
You want me to pull up the Webster's Dictionary? You want to take a break real quick and pull up the Webster's Dictionary to define a word that you used in an answer about 40 seconds ago? We're working off of a theory, quote unquote. You said it, not me. You want me to go get a dictionary so we can figure out for the jurors what that word means?
Objection.
All right, sustained. Let's move on.
Oh, okay. I got enthralled there by that back and forth. Sorry. Yeah. What certainly there's a certain quotient here of assholery. But do you think he gets it that this antagonistic back and forth hurts him?
I think he was so worried about his own personal appearance that he forgot what his job was. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like his whole presence up there was almost smug in a way. I don't know if you guys got that feeling. Like he's just
Yes.
like, you know what? How dare you question me? I'm Yuri. You know, Yuri Buhkenik. I mean, you didn't know who I was. Apparently, I'm the greatest here. I just thought that he should have shown a little more humility and said, you know what, this case had some challenges, and there's things that we didn't do perfectly, but it still ultimately led to our theory of this. But I'd like to maybe just point out one thing on this, or a couple things, Mike, if you don't mind, Linda, is what as attorneys, you guys letting a witness that you're cross-examining speak that long is extremely rare. I don't know if you guys would agree with that, but you're never.
I agree with that. I
Of
absolutely agree with that.
And quite often, if it goes too far afield, you stop it, you cut it off. But when the guy, the guy's stringing the rope to hang himself, knock yourself out. And
so I thought,
there's really no objection. You know, the prosecution can't really save him. You know, they try at the end. You know, finally it got far enough that Brennan woke up and made the objection, and the court.
I thought that as well is that, and what Linda was saying is it's rare too, and what you're saying, Mike, is it's rare that you would let a defense witness or somebody you're cross-examining explain things. You know, I'm not here to I just want you to answer yes or no, or if I'm correct. But I thought AJ showed a lot of poise and patience, because he knew that the more Yuri was speaking, the better things got for the defense case, because you hear him saying, well, we had a theory that the cocktail glass was involved and that he was involved in a domestic dispute. We had a theory. So Alan's just like, yeah, please keep telling me more about this theory that you never investigated, right? So good things for him. And I thought Yuri it just became a jumbled mess. It couldn't make any sense of it. He's just like, it's like he's playing in the mud somewhere. It's like, dude, just get out of the mud, and you're not helping yourself. Just stop talking at that point.
And then when he's challenged on the word theory, which he used twice,
right?
Alan Jackson did a great job. Being nimble and being able to pivot like that is such an important talent, because he didn't know that was coming. He doesn't think this guy's going to be so stupid that he's going to use the word theory twice in his own response and then pretend he doesn't know what the word means. And so Alan takes that and runs. Oh, you want me to get a Webster's dictionary right now? Stop everything and show you what the word theory is, the word you just used 40 seconds ago. I mean, that is such a gift.
I'm glad you said that, Michael, because that's what I call this one. The witness gives a gift, and it really just gives AJ. He just served it up so good. That like you said, you really got to be quick on your feet, and he was like, "What you? I can't actually do the theatrics that some of you attorneys can do. I don't know if you guys do part acting class when you go to law school, but
a little bit.
But AJ's got some of that little charisma. Like what? He has all those inflections, and you're just watching it. I don't know if you watched it, but all the way to the end, if we got all of it. But I think you can see Yuri looks to his right because Brennan stands, and even the judge, they both rescue him. Okay, objection, yes, sustained. That's enough, Mr. Jackson. It was like the point, like he got beat up enough. What he said was
throwing in the towel for him,
right? Yeah. So at the end of the day, I mean, I thought Yuri was one of the worst law enforcement witnesses I've seen in a while. I did not like anything stylistically from him. He should have been better prepared for his own report. These are your reports, and you're being championed as the government's witness in chief. Like he's making up for a lot of witnesses that they couldn't call, and
That's
so
true.
he really needs to be just so well versed in the details. I mean, we could probably pull one or two of your audience members, and they would be more versed from memory, right? And so the fact that he's not is cringy for me. I'm like, why doesn't he know these things? He should have. I mean, I would have been. I think a lot of your people watching this, you would have been studying day and night. Like, I just need to memorize. Do you need to memorize everything? No, but you got to have some really good foundational grasp of your case, and you shouldn't be tripped up. You shouldn't be every other time. Well, if you show it to me, maybe that's what happened. It's like, what do you mean? You did the case. What do you mean? Maybe it happened. It's like, it's just, it was, I thought it was just horrible for him. I'm glad that Colonel Noble put in his things that he wants to fix his courtroom testimony.
Yeah. They got a long way to go.
Yeah, Michael, let me ask you this, because I thought that when he came back, I think it was the second day, right? I thought I called it a station house adjustment, because I thought when he was, or was after lunch, or there was a break. And I thought I kept saying, using that word, because all of a sudden he wasn't as argumentative with Alan Jackson as he had been. But it was all over by then to me. I mean, his whole, and apparently somebody pointed out that Oasis Cat, one of our mods, said that Paul agreed that he was the worst. He was definitely the
That's
worst.
Paula Prado, who was the Brazilian attorney now living in the U.S. So in our hit list here of the most unlikable witnesses, and first let me ask, you still got time to wrap this up?
We can't leave out Ms. Deaver.
Officer Dever. Okay, so let me get her. You set this up, this first clip. We got a couple from her because she is gold.
This is great, Mike. This is absolutely great. This is such a great teaching month. This is so great.
Will we get some continuing ed credits for this? I want to make
You
sure
guys, we
for
should
my
all
bar
put-
license. You know, we have to have continuing.
Oh, by the
legal
way, while you're
education.
getting that, I'm remembering Mr. Easter saying something about him being involved in the BK case. I would point out we have confirmed with our source, who has a source that confirms. This source confirmed with one of the family members that there is a plea deal, a plea to 4 guilty of 4 murders, death penalty off the table. So
in the Brian Kohlberger case.
In the Brian Kohlberger, I thought I'd like to let you know. Yes, because he did say that. I don't think he has the ability to say much more, and so I'm saying it for him. Is that possible?
Yeah,
Thank you.
and then and we will we'll circle back on that one. I do believe.
I think it would be interesting if there's people that had questions about something they saw. Once this case is resolved, I think I could have a more free opinion, but still limited based on my prior employment.
Understood. Okay, so set up our first. No, go ahead. I
was going to say that's my best Yuri is.
Okay, set up this first clip. Let me find it, and we'll be ready to roll on that.
This next one's Officer Dever. I think it's important to remember, and I think I might have misspoke the last time we spoke, is that I said that she was called by the Commonwealth. She was called by the defense, clearly. And I've never seen a witness go off the rails this bad. I've just never seen anything quite like it. In fact, I snipped on most of her stuff. I'll be using it in my own instruction because I teach one of the blocks that I teach. Well, the course is about 2 weeks for this block. But one of the things I always teach is when do you introduce yourself to the jury, and first impressions matter, right? And so this first clip is, I want you to listen and just watch how she's answering questions, her demeanor, her poise, as well as what she's saying. But watch what your first impression is. Everybody already has a first impression because we've seen her. I'm sure everybody on your channel. But just take a moment to think, if you're sitting in the jury box, why do first impressions matter, and what is the jury's first impression when they see her? And this clip's about 1 minute and 1 second.
Let me ask if I can audibilize here, Professor, because I was looking at when she was sworn in and the interaction between her and the judge. Can I show that real quick before we get to your clip? Yeah. I just thought it was fascinating. When you think about the personalities involved, hers we didn't know at that point. Certainly we knew the judges, but I just think this interaction is really something. So let me get this out here, and then I'll zoom to the first of the clips we want to look at officially. So they've just called her.
You shall not tell the evidence in the court during the case down here, the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Thank you.
Good morning. Morning. Morning, ma'am.
The judge says good morning, and she's oblivious or so mad about being there that she just blows off the judge.
I never saw that, Michael. I mean,
it's just so dismissive. Ugh. Already,
I never saw that either. That's the first time I'm seeing that. The judge said good morning.
Yeah, and she's left hanging. She's like, high five. She's left hanging there.
I thought you noticed the judge waited, like,
yes.
you're gonna say good morning to me.
And then when she turned to face her, she basically said it again as if nothing had happened.
By the way, we're holding our super chats till the end of the show. We have a lot to talk about at the end of the show, and we'll go through our super chats then.
I think this will be quick. I know you guys got lots of chats.
No. This is amazing. Okay, here we go.
Fabulous.
Did you ever prepare any kind of report based on any of your conduct or your connection with this case, if there was any connection with this case, while you were a Canton police officer?
No.
Were you ever interviewed by any member of the Canton Police Department in furtherance of their investigation related to the death of John O'Keefe?
No.
Were you ever interviewed by the Massachusetts State Police?
No.
Let me finish the question. I got to finish the question, then you can answer. It works a little better that way. Were you ever interviewed by any member of the Massachusetts State Police in furtherance of their investigation into the death of John O'Keefe?
No.
Were you ever interviewed by either the Canton Police Department or the Massachusetts State Police with regard to any of your observations on January 28th or January 29th, 2022?
No.
And you never wrote a report about your observations or any observations that you had on January 28th or January 29th, 2022, correct?
No.
That was a double negative. Let me try that.
Okay, so how to be unlikable. Is that what you're going to be teaching with this particular clip?
Yeah, and so the first one clearly was first impressions. Mike, I didn't see the her not agree the judge.
I didn't really notice it in real time, but when I was playing
it makes it even worse.
It's
You're adding that. I know you're going to add that, Mike, to the clip, right?
Oh man,
yeah,
it is. I'm going to clip it for my own class, but
there you go.
I think we could all see her first question and the response is very aggressive. The tone of it's aggressive. She's annoyed. She's constantly looking away while he's asking questions. Like, you know how when my toddlers, when I'd be talking to them, they're looking away. They're like, I don't even want to hear what Dad's saying. Well, they were teenagers. They did that as well. So I don't know. Maybe it's just a thing. But you could see the disrespect. She's like, she's looking at the jury, even kind of giving them like the side eye. Like, what am I even doing here? This is, and giving like smirks and laughs. I would say that I would be really surprised that any juror thought highly of her in her first impressions. I think they probably all would have had a negative inference of her personality just at the very beginning. And I put these things, and I teach this for students. So she's really sort of on direct, right? Well, you guys would agree since she was called by the defense.
And not technically a hostile witness, but I'm not sure how you could get more hostile without being a hostile witness. But yes, she's on direct.
And so one of the things I teach, and I think it's important maybe for us to remember, is that these questions are designed to be straightforward and designed, even though Alan's calling her, are designed to get her comfortable, get her relaxed, let the nerves out for a sec. I'm going to ask you questions that, how long have you worked at your job? How long did you do X, Y, and Z? Just the basics. And as a witness, I always tell the students, listen, those first couple questions, take a breath, just be confident, start getting your stride for listening and answering questions, because the hard questions come later. Get these ones right. These ones are all like T-ball questions. Just get them right. And she couldn't even do that. And so I actually would have loved to have known or been in Alan's head. Hey, Alan, what were you thinking after those first couple of questions? Like, oh God, how's this going to go? But he, you talked about it. He's a professional. He can think on his feet, and he clearly did. So what I'd like to say for this one is your first impressions as a witness, but just your demeanor alone are very, very important. And maybe I'll share this last thing because I only have one more clip. I think one more clip.
We got a couple more. Go ahead, though. We got
I teach the students, one of the things I teach in first impressions is, when does the first impression start? And in California, I tell them, when does it start? And I always ask the students, I'm like, when you walk into the courtroom. Someone I will say, when you walk into the courthouse. I'm like, okay, how about sooner? When you're walking to the courthouse. I'm like, yeah, that's possible too. And they're like, and I'm like, some student goes, well, when you're parking. Yes, it's possible as well. And then somebody goes, when you're driving to court. I'm like, yes. And the reason I taught this class is I was driving to LA one day, and I'd already testified I was coming back. And everybody knows LA traffic on the 405 and the 101 are absolutely horrific. And I was starting to have what I would say maybe some light road rage. And I looked over, and it's one of the jurors. I wasn't mad at them. It was people next to trying to cut in. But I thought, oh my gosh, how amazing that I'm right next to a juror I'm going to go testify next to in a few minutes. Imagine what I would have, if I would have had some type of road rage or very aggressive incident. They're going to have a negative inference. They're like, hey, that's the FBI guy coming to testify. So I ever since then, I always teach, you never know when you're first going to be introduced to the jury. As soon as I leave my house, start driving to court, I just start thinking, I may encounter a juror on the way today. And I know it seems, is it going to happen every time? But It may happen in
That's
the most
amazing.
important case. Yeah.
So I guess we could say you don't need to go far enough back to say, when I get in the shower to get ready for the
No,
day. That's probably safe. That's probably all right.
You might have
Uh,
contaminated the jury pool at that point.
Well, it happens also with lawyers, and you have to be careful too, because when we were trying a case up in Boston, our team, we were walking back to the place that we had rented. Every day we walk back with all of our stuff talking, and we look behind us, and there's a juror right behind us, right? So how we're talking, how we're acting, how we're walking, and of course we moved over, the little to the side. But so it goes for lawyers too, exactly what you're saying, because you never know when you're going to run into a juror. It could be a Saturday. It could be a Saturday when you're out shopping.
And it's funny. It's like how many times have we bumped into jurors on an elevator? Just coming and going around the courthouse. It's almost like you're going to school, right? But you run into the teacher in the teacher's lounge. Whoa! It's a whole different dynamic, and you know that the wall exists. I will always ask the judge, look, we bumped into some jurors. Could you give an instruction that we're not being rude? That we just need to distance ourselves because you can't really engage them, even in the slightest small talk, because it can be construed as some sort of tampering.
Right. Yeah. I love that somebody put in your chat the 405, which is
Yes,
funny.
yes.
I learned that only Californians, I guess,
It is ridiculous.
say the word "the" in front of the freeways.
And it's not Californians. As a Bay Area Californian, we don't call it the 101, although it's in the Bay Area there. It's 101. So when I moved to LA, I was there for 6 years. I never said the. Never. It was 405, 5, 110, boom, boom, 10. I'm not jumping into that. I'm not deifying the roads, giving them a D. No.
I think it's an LA thing for sure, because my buddy's like, why do you keep putting the in front of the freeway numbers?
It's
and I'm
ridiculous.
Like, I don't know. You guys don't do that where you're at? They're like, no.
No, normal people do not. Just weird, self-absorbed LA
I think
people.
didn't the Saturday Night Live make a whole skit about the Californians?
The Californians, the way they spoke, and you take the 10 to the 305 to the 10 to the 95, and then it's a joke. It is. It's a part of the affect of Southern California. It's not made up.
I'm sorry, people. Maybe I'll try. I'll do what I can to just say 405.
There you go.
Next clip,
it'll boggle their brains when you first do. What do you mean?
People are like, he's not from LA. He didn't put the in front of it.
That's right. Okay, so we're up to yet another.
I have two more clips, and I appreciate people's patience. Hopefully, there's some value for you guys. I still find it fun. This next clip's 2 minutes, and it's still Kelly Dever, or Officer Dever. I want you to really focus on her expressions before she even says anything, which I think is interesting. What was it? Lieutenant Gallagher? I think he might have been one of the early witnesses. Remember how he answered questions like with his body language, and I think it was Alan's like, let me ask the question before you start nodding no to it. And
right. It was him, and he was like, and you said something like, I think it was you mentioned that sometime he would say he'd be nodding no, right? No, but then he'd answer yes. So you don't know what it was that he was saying, which is true, the no, the nod, or the words.
Okay, let's see where we are with her. Here we go.
Yeah, this one's 2 minutes. So
monitors?
Yes.
Does the dispatch area also have monitors of internal security camera footage?
I know there was camera screens, but I don't know if they were on TVs or computers or where in dispatch they were. I don't recollect where they were or how they would be accessed. They were in the room somewhere. I can't be more specific. I don't remember.
But you do recall seeing that there were monitors that were showing different views of internal security camera footage of Canton PD, correct?
The specifics, no. Were there? Yes.
I don't know what you mean by specifics. I'm asking you, were there monitors that you could look at that showed security camera footage from inside Canton PD, different areas, hallways, corridors, offices, the Sally port, for instance?
So 2.5 years since I've.
You keep saying 2.5 years later.
So let her finish her answer and then ask a question.
Sure.
It's been years since I've been in that room. They were somewhere in the room. Where cameras were in the Canton Police Department, I don't recall. The media's provided me information since this case took place, and I can't speak on what's my recollection and what's been media provided. There are cameras. I don't know where on my memory where they are.
So has the media informed you that there were internal security monitors at the dispatch location?
So the objection is sustained. Next question.
What do you recall from the dispatch room, as you put it? What do you recall being there in terms of monitors?
I remember there was a computer screen that had information about current calls, and then there was a 911 screen next to that. Those are the two computers that I would have been positioned in front of during this time.
I think that's good, Mike.
Okay, so what's her deal here? Yeah, it's been 2.5 years. It's been 2.5 years. It's been 2.5 years. Pretty fundamental questions.
Right. And that's what I put. These are the basics. They really are the basics. And the theme that she's walked herself into is self-destruction. And I always tell students, don't self-destruct on the stand. And so she gave horrible first impression and then self-destructed. And I can't wait to show this in the next class I teach, because this is such a great example of self-destruction. I'm not seeing this done this well by a witness for me, so I'm appreciative. I mean, the gasp, right? The eye rolls, the facial expressions, like her thing, that was just so annoying to me.
I don't know how she could do the
her mouth is, she's just a permanent pouty frown.
Yeah, the pouty face. These questions, again, are the basics. You worked at this place. Yes. They had computer screens. Yes. They had security cameras. Yes. These are like, you should just be knocking these out of the park. These are the basics. Like, he's not even accused of anything. And the reason she self-destructed is she was thinking too far down the line of the questions and not being present in the questions that were being asked of her. So she was trying to avoid and get ahead of the questions that Alan's going to really ask her later. But that then makes it look like she's lying already on the basics. So just get through the basics honestly. Don't overthink what's to come. Try to be patient and realize, yes, there's going to be some difficult ones, but at least get the easy ones right.
Yeah, that's a great point, because little did she know how they were going to react to this false memory scenario, right? That hadn't been tried out before. Alan Jackson didn't know that was coming. Nobody knew that was coming, except perhaps the commissioner, who had schooled her one-on-one on what might play. And so, so if she's thinking, how's that going to go? I got to get this right. It's so important. She's already, soured her testimony.
Yeah. Yeah. She's going into the difficult questions already looking like a liar on the basics.
Yeah. Yep.
And then she goes really off the rails, right?
Oh, it's this. She lit the fuse of self-destruction, and then the rest of it's just an explosion. This last clip, if you guys wanted to still play this last one, is
absolutely.
I think ultimately the final nail, which is then the disrespect she showed the court.
Wow.
Because I tend to find I know there'll probably be arguments about this, but I tend to find the jury usually likes the judge. And
I say that all the time. They follow the judge. The judge gets them lunch. The judge lets them go to the bathroom when they raise their hand. The judge is their caretaker.
And so I tend to find you don't want to be disrespectful to the judge, because then they take offense on the judge's behalf. Now that I saw that first one, Michael, this makes it's the bookends.
Yes, this does bookend her entire experience, doesn't it?
Yeah. So I would. This one's just about a minute, but really, what I'd like you to watch is how does she treat the judge, and how evasive she was to the question before actually giving the answer she should have just given, instead of going through this whole argumentative response.
Okay, let's watch.
Had you ever been in Sallyport? at Canton PD?
Yes.
What's the Sally Port?
A Sally Port is a garage, essentially.
Okay. You're aware that the Sally Port garage had a camera, a security camera?
It would make sense because that's where we bring prisoners to drop them off.
Well, more than just makes sense. I'm asking you, do you recall that it had cameras that serviced the Sally Port garage? Security cameras.
It's where we brought prisoners, so there would be cameras, yes.
Okay, you're saying there would be cameras. I'm asking you, were there cameras?
According to the media, yes. I've seen the footage, so yes, there were cameras.
All right, so hold on. So I'm going to strike that, officer. You have to answer the question based on your own independent knowledge, okay? And if you don't have them, tell us. But you can't reference what you know from the media.
All right. There were cameras in the Sally Port.
Thank you.
God, just so unlikable. Such a
Imagine if she would have just answered the question with the last statement, Schmidt. Yes, there were cameras in the Sally Port.
Just brutal.
Right? I'll tell you what, her demeanor, if she responded like that to a judge in a federal court, the judge probably would have publicly said so, right in front of the jury, said something to her. Or if I did that, I guarantee a federal judge, Agent Easter, you are required to be respectful to the court, and I expect you to be. He or she would. I don't know if you guys have been in federal court, but the judges are like way up here, and you're way down here. If you disrespect the court, that judge, the federal judge, will most times say something to you.
Yeah.
Mike, your face is being covered by this question that's put up here. So.
There you go. Rise above the question.
Stage heading, Mike. So many questions for you. I know we've held most of them. January 2025, Leah Foley said in the letter, investigation was still open. 3 weeks later, Levy's assistant told KR's team the investigation was closed. I'm not. I think there was an issue of Hank saying that, right? Do you think it could be closed? And I'm not. I don't know if you could answer. I mean, let me just say for Mike that he can't say anything that he may know as an agent. So I guess there we go. But Mike, I'm throwing it to you.
Yeah, I'll give the comment that I've given previously, which is, in my experience, having worked with with FBI and DOJ, I'll leave the word "the" off. Is that it's pretty rare that there's a rush to close a case of this magnitude, but instead, I could see that the investigation or the matter's been completed, but closed, I'd be surprised at this point.
Yeah, completed is maybe a word that they've taken and twisted a little bit to sound more conclusive. Completed.
Yeah, I think Brennan perpetuated a something that he wanted to be true.
Right.
I sort of would still take issue that the FBI would have any reason to disclose to Brennan or even the defense the status of their case. It's not in the nature of FBI or DOJ employees to give that.
Yeah, and I don't know who Hank Brennan's brother is, but he's spoken out about it. Like he's got the inside track on what the FBI did do, didn't do, announced, did not announce. But
yeah.
I
mean, is it possible I'm wrong?
Source.
Yeah, I mean, is it possible I'm wrong and they closed it? Sure. I'm just giving you what my experience would be.
The norm.
They never tell you. I have clients from 25 years ago that I've never heard back.
And why would they? Why would they tell you that? How does that help the Bureau or the DOJ to tell you that?
Right. I totally agree with that. What's the value to DOJ and FBI are only going to do things that are valuable to them. They're not there to help Brennan or AJ per se. They're there for their investigation and just serve the public. Clearly, I just don't see what it serves to notify of whether it's open or closed still.
Yeah. Well, as we wrap this up, put that one back up so we can make sure that Michael sees that one. Just a statement, not a question. Mr. Easter is very knowledgeable, informative, engaging, and quite good looking. Best guest ever. Do we have an award? Do we have an award for that somewhere?
Is that my wife posting on the thing?
Let's see. She has a screen name of 007 Texas.
007 Texas. She's been an exceptional guest, and that goes in the play that our thumbnail to announce you was Easter eggs Monday. You know how you put an Easter egg
that.
and everything. And so you've been an exceptional guest. I mean, I think we've all learned. I can't wait. I actually want you to do more. I mean, I want to go back to.
I would too. There's so many others I would like to learn from. And if you keep doing such a great job, we may have, Mondays with Mike or something. I don't know. We have a contract. We're going to have a whole thing. But we really appreciate your time and getting into this stuff, because the stuff that you don't even give a second thought to is fascinating.
I've learned. I've been trying cases my whole life, and I learned fabulously. I have to tell you a funny story though, because somebody put up something and they got my name wrong. I think they called me Lindsay something or whatever, and then somebody else got my name wrong, and I was like, well, it's Linda. And then I said, don't call me Dever, don't call me,
That's right.
because I think that's going to go down in infamy about whether or not you call, somebody, you don't answer a question because you say their name wrong. I mean, if I've had somebody, if I didn't answer a question for every time somebody mispronounced any of my names, my married name, my first married name, my second married name, I'd be a very, 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 very wealthy woman.
Very wealthy. It's funny that as I watched this back a couple of times, and it's such short testimony, I think only once did Alan Jackson say Dever. Even when he first called her, when the judge said, we have another witness, yes, it's Officer Dever, blah, blah, blah. Only that one time. But man, she latched onto that and used it to sound like the spoiled brat that she is.
She tried to do what Yuri did, which is be a smartass. And I tell the students every time, you think you're going to get one over, and I've never really seen it work. These are two examples of two witnesses that tried it and it fell flat, and honestly, it blew up in their face. So it's a really good lesson, I think, for if anybody watching your show is ever a witness, don't try to do that. You're doing too much.
Yeah. I always say one of my axioms is never underestimate the power of likability, which means the inverse is also true. Never underestimate the power of unlikability. I may have to modify that. Never underestimate the power of being an asshole. I think that may be the most important message.
What I think she really could have come off as a likable person if she would have just changed her tone, because her testimony wasn't that controversial. She should have just said, yes, there are cameras. Yes, I looked at them. Yes, I previously stated that I saw those individuals go into the Sally Port. I was presented other information, and now I'm realizing perhaps I had a memory of a different date, and that's the only thing I can think of. She could have sort of come off as likable, and people like, oh, she just forgot.
Yeah, like it wasn't a big deal in her life at the time.
Yeah.
So here's what I recall, and the nugget of information they really wanted from her was her reference in the report that it was weird that the former chief and which officer, Tully, I think, were in that Sally Port for a long period of time, that 40 minutes, which miraculously disappeared from video.
Right.
So that was it. That was the nugget. But she made it about so much other stuff.
Right. Yeah.
I can't wait. I'd like to go back to the first trial and talk about Mr. Higgins.
Oh my gosh. All of them you could get, Bryant Albert, Higgins, Colin Albert, all of those cast of characters. Oh my God.
Yeah. I did rewatch some of Higgins the other day, just
for fun.
I just say the other day, about a week ago, just because of the interviews I'd done. I just wanted to see what he said again. But you go back to Trooper Paul. I mean, there's so many. This case is like the golden nuggets of for teaching testimonies, do's and don'ts.
Well, I'm glad that worked out for you. And for those who don't remember, Michael Easter was going to be a witness for the defense, but Judge Bev Kenney said, no, this jury does not need his expertise. And as we talked about last time, Michael, ironically, I guess they didn't. I guess they figured the solo cups, leaf blower, no evidence bags. It was pretty obvious to them that it was crap. So
and I still think obviously they got it right. The jury figured it out for themselves. I think the nice thing about having an investigator come in and explain is not to explain what was done, but things that weren't done. But why are those things important? The why of certain investigative techniques. What does it give them that they're not getting? But ultimately, you guys are right, and Judge Kenney got that decision right, I guess.
Well,
Yeah.
no, I don't think she got the decision right. I think
she got lucky.
I think the jury got it right, but I
Yeah.
don't think she got the decision right. There's no doubt when you're having a Bowden defense and your whole defense is that the cops screwed up in terms of how they processed everything and what they did and what they didn't do, and what they started to do and then failed to continue on with. I think that does need an expert, but that's just, that's just me, the lawyer, that tries cases, and I'm not the judge. But
and when you have the jury members, so many of them using the term, there were a lot of holes. There, it would have been good to have an expert on there to explain that's why there were holes, right?
Right.
Yeah. So anyway,
so Michael, you want to know, Michael, before you go, do you want to know this
Yep.
little tidbit from Ryden Bowen, and then Michael Bryant? I'll get the questions. Prior to 1964, California's freeway system didn't use a freeway numbering system. They were named by where they went. So the was part of the freeway name. After the switch, we kept using the. Okay.
Ryan Bowden.
You know what?
You go
I
with that
appreciate
story.
this person. I love it. You know why? Because that makes sense to me, because the freeways, some of them still have, for example, the 101 or 101 is referred to as the Ventura Freeway.
That's true. That's true. In the Hollywood Freeway. Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Allegedly, maybe does all the AI baby interviews. I want you all to do Mike Easter reacts from our faith court moments. Would be so much fun. Can we have baby? Can we have baby things, or those little baby AIs, and then Mike Easter could be the baby AI who does the reaction after he does it on our show? That'd be great. I'd love that.
My daughters are cringing that I watch those baby things. They're like, it's so silly, but I'm like, it's so funny. I don't know why.
It really is. It is fun to watch and creative. I love it. I'm
hoping to get one today after my defense of you that you don't even know I defended. But you can go watch it afterwards. We wanted to keep you above the fray because we know how you are. I do have this question though: has Mr. Easter seen photos of 34 failure garage and basement? I don't know if he can comment on that. That's thoughts on replaced floor not able to be admitted into evidence. We don't have evidence. We don't have any testimony that there was a replaced floor anyhow. So but
there were photos of the garage that were not allowed in. Were they part of what you reviewed, if you can say?
They were not.
Okay.
They were not. Okay.
There you go. That's as good as we're going to do. So we're going to let you go and probably get ready for the next group that we want to do. And then they want to have a reaction. And boy, would that be funny if you're in a baby photo? I would love it. I'd love the baby AI. You'd be so great. You'd be so great. So great. This is how
we'll work on that. Let's get that worked out.
Right.
Michael, thank you so much. You've got some work
again.
coming up, right? You got some trials coming up you're prepping for?
Yeah, I have three trials. I have a homicide trial, a public corruption case, and then a Hobbs Act case that I'll be working on this week and next.
Right.
All right.
All right.
We'll leave you alone for a little bit.
Thanks for sharing some time in the midst of all that.
You're the best. You're going to have a lot more work coming your way. That's for sure.
I think so.
Whoa. I'm not going
I appreciate it. It's always, I love it coming on and chatting with both of you, and hopefully there's some value to your audience. And if there's something you think I would bring value to in the future, whether it's me or baby me, let me know.
Okay. We will. Thanks, Michael.
All right, guys.
Thanks,
Talk to you.
Take care.
So let's go. It's so great. Let's go through some of these comments, Michael, because he's just so great. I mean, he is just so great. I mean, I don't know about you, but I was writing things down furiously because I was learning about how to prep.
Yeah. Some of the stuff you may not conceptualize. You kind of know it. You think about it. You do it by rote, but to have it pointed out and itemized, it's it's a great refresher for those having done it and for those who haven't. Next time you watch a trial, next time you see a witness, start looking at the things that they're being asked and how they're responding, and see how today's lesson will help you kind of get more out of it.
Yeah. So let's see. Ruthless Rosie, I was a new member. Thank you, Ruthless Rosie, for joining us. Joined Jennifer Platypus, who we had a question from, a comment from about Mike Easter. Thank you for gifting one Justice Served TV membership. As you can see from people that were talking today on different chats, and we try to answer them as much as we can, answer the comments, and a lot of you don't get answered, but people really need and would like to be a member that can't necessarily afford to get it. So these gifts are very, very important.
Yep, very nice. And again, I'll mention, as I did when we started, we're getting some new content together or some old content repackaged to help our members kind of benefit from that membership. We appreciate that. And we should mention over the weekend, we went over 20,000 for the first time.
Well, guess
obviously.
what?
I think we're close to 21. Oh, now we're at 21. Sorry.
We're 21,000.
Almost 21. I know we're close.
Yeah.
You know, it seems like we gained more subs when we weren't on the air. Wait a minute. That
no,
doesn't sound right.
You know, it's because all of you are really finding us. As I said, it's only been 9 months. I mean, we're just giving birth right now. Amelia watched 3766. Okay, in case you don't know that, that's a female thing.
Is that what it is? 9 months? Okay. Are we breach?
Yeah. No, Amelia Walsh, thank you for that donation. Brian Walsh case is very interesting. Yes, it is. The Proctor fallout is wild. Fruit of the poisonous tree, and Yuri on the stand again. Oh, this is going to be fun. I wonder if he's going to watch Mike Easter's evaluation of him on our show, right? I mean, that'd be wild.
I'd say the Magic 8 Ball says not a chance in hell.
Not a chance in hell.
Let me know when you're in between, because I've got some I forgot to mention last time.
Okay, we're not there yet. Happy GMA Spokane News report: the firefighters asked the shooter to move his vehicle, which he's living. He began shooting, but there was a call. I thought he set the fire. Right, that's what I thought happened. But boy, if that's even worse. If they had direct contact.
That's what I assumed.
Oh my
going
God.
in.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Jean Lee 185. I am 63. A white Christian. You're a youngster. A white Christian conservative until 5 years ago. I trusted our justice system. Not anymore. Disgusted and disappointed by DAs. I'm sick thinking of innocent people incarcerated. The Innocence Project took a long while, but make us realize that this is a pervasive problem, and we've seen it now, and we see that it depends on the people. And I mean, that's what us defense attorneys have been fighting for. I was a prosecutor. I always tried to do, as Michael said, the right thing and only convict the innocent,
Convict
the
guilty.
I'm kidding you. That was a joke. And the reason why I said that, the reason why I said that is I had a boss who would always say, it's easy to convict the guilty. It's hard to convict the innocent. So that was a joke. We try to convict only the people that were guilty, obviously, and had done a crime. And I still talk to this day when I give lectures about having to tell a victim that this person was not the person who had committed the sexual assault on her based on the testing that was done. And people kept insisting, well, I did. I said, it's not. And you have to be strong enough to be able to go after the person who actually did the crime, because there's a bad person out there. All right. And if we convict an innocent person, we're never going to look for that bad person. Okay. We did the one for Sage. Okay. Let's see. Becky Einhorn. Beck Einhorn. I'm Becky Einhorn, right? What does the DOJ do with problematic agents like Higgins? I don't know. We haven't really seen him around, have we?
He has kind of slipped into obscurity. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's technically still at the ATF, but suspended, or do we know?
I don't know. I don't know. He came. Michael Easter said, remember that he came to the interview or something with a lawyer. So that's not if you're a witness in a case or an ATF agent. Yeah, I would too, though.
Everybody should have had a lawyer.
Well, if you gotten rid of your phone, sure. Donnie, not Wahlberg, get the one Justice Serve TV membership. Another one. Mara, congratulations for 20,000. Yes, and I think we're over 21,000 now. Skyhopper, T16 Media. Hi, Sky Popper.
Hey.
When we name, thank you for you're giving us your allowance. We don't want your allowance. Take your allowance back. We love you to be on our show. Can we name Mr. Easter Papi Huevos? Papi Huevos.
Yeah.
Good
we're
egg.
14 away from 21,000.
Okay, 14 away. So. Good egg. Yeah, I think good egg is a Papi Huevos. That's a pretty good.
Good egg.
He is
a good egg.
Daddy egg, Papi egg. Can we name him the Papi? Can we name him Daddy egg? All right, I like Daddy egg, Papi Huevos.
Or egg daddy.
Great.
I don't know.
Or egg daddy. Yeah, we call him egg daddy. Yeah, let's do that next time. We'll name egg daddy.
Well, and then we'll see if he comes on.
Joanna, wait. Hi, Joanna. Linda Michael, I'm 62 tomorrow. Whoa, happy birthday to you.
Birthday.
Happy day before your birthday. Happy unbirthday today.
July 1. That's good. That's an easy to remember.
July 1. So great. That's great. I know you have stuff to do, and while you're getting that ready, I just want to remind everybody, we did post a rant up on Justice Serve TV today, a Linda rant in preview, again, because you see how great Michael Easter is, right? We had some, we demanded an apology. You go look at it. It's on our videos on our Justice Serve TV webpage. It was 2 hours ago. We already have 4,300 views.
Oh, yeah, more than that.
Maybe more than that. Okay.
I'm going to the analytics. I was looking for an answer, an apology. Okay. I've not seen an apology.
I haven't seen an apology.
6,700 views so far.
Okay, in 2 hours. Okay,
yeah.
And I was showing off my manicure. Okay,
that must be it.
That must be it. You know, I was showing off this finger and this finger and
yeah.
this finger.
And most of them stayed off screen, so that's good.
Yeah, most of them. I did a lot of it.
I just want to thank some folks who have given us donations.
Yes, please.
Other sources. Lydia Snodgrass. Thank you, Michael, for traveling. It is my pleasure. Going to be doing that again a week from today, right? Yeah, the 7th, when Aiden Carney's got his hearing.
Going to be on the 7th.
Paula Bowers donation. Appreciate that very much. I think those are the only two that I missed. Okay.
By the way, while we're on the show,
wait, here's another one I missed. Oh. Sorry. Adrian Whitaker. Thank you so much for my travels.
And we're going to use it to go back. Right.
Roger Wood. And I see. Oh, got another one. Jenny, I'm really bad at this. Jenny Dwyer. Thank you.
Mike have lunch with Maisie when Linda have lunch with me.
Oh.
So, yeah, I'll have lunch with you. Let me know.
No, it says lunch on her. She doesn't want to be with you.
Oh, geez, I feel
buy you lunch.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so go look for that. Aiden announced, by the way, while we're on, that he is going to have Alan Jackson on Saturday night. Alan Jackson wants to come on to say something. He wants one thing he wants to say. Okay.
And what is this on? I'm sorry, what was that? I missed
Aiden on Saturday night. This coming Saturday night. Okay. And we're also trying to work on Alan, trying to get him on the show, not for an interview that would conflict with his contract, but just in a different way, because we had that relationship. We had a try case against each other. I wonder how he feels about me commenting on him and how I feel about him bringing on the trial that I had a comment on. So we'll see what we can do.
He's a classy guy. I'm sure he's fine.
Yeah, well, considering I did say it was the best summation I've ever seen, especially in an hour and a half, I'm sure he is too. Okay, but the person who's really fine to me is Mike Easter. I mean, I just learned so much.
Yeah, he's just a good guy.
Now, a lot of you have come over. Yeah, a lot of you have come over from X to this whole show. Some of you are on YouTube, but a lot of you came over from X. I really hope you come over to our YouTube channel and hit that subscribe, like, share, notify. The reason why I hit the like when we have our next thumbnail for tomorrow, and we'll be announcing tomorrow's show either later tonight or tomorrow, and you are going to love it. I know it, but we don't want to get ahead of ourselves. Is that those likes get us into the algorithm and push us out, so that people watch. And that's how we've come such a long way in such a very short time. And also, if you hit subscribe, share, and notify, that also helps us get in the algorithm. So please, if people are donating all their time here, or our mods, our producers, Mike Easter, I just ask you if you could just do that for us, that'd be great. Subscribe, share.
Yep. Yep. Didn't cost a thing. So. All right, then. We'll figure out tomorrow. We got a couple things in the works. Who knows?
And we're going to be probably talking about Koberger. I'm going to be on. I'm going to be taping a show tonight, by the way, with Cheryl McCollum. It's going to be on Koberger, so I'm sure there'll be more on it. He's going to plead. He's going to plead. The plea is set for Wednesday, Michael. Now, the plea is set for Wednesday, from what I read. So that's going to be a big deal.
Yeah. All right. We'll figure out how we're covering that. It is a holiday week, so things are going to be a little bit jumbled, but we will. Figure it out. We'll figure it out. So, all right. In the meantime, tomorrow, back, I guess, 6 o'clock tomorrow, whatever we're doing. In the meantime, Michael Bryant here. Try to do the right thing.
I'm the Kenney Baden here. Hit subscribe, share, like, notify, and we'll see you tomorrow.